Hey everybody, this is David Rankin with Rankin Studio. Popping on today, August 18th, 2022, to talk about this subtropical low that's moving across the desert southwest right now. It's a pretty interesting situation, kind of similar to something we had last year with an upper level inverted trough that came through during monsoon season. It's one of these systems that can move in and interact with the monsoon moisture that's in place or bring a bunch of monsoon moisture with it and trigger off really powerful thunderstorms and heavy rainfall and flash flooding. So, I've been chasing flood and documenting flash floods for over 20 years now. It's just a passion that I have. And so I always I want to pop on and talk a little bit about the dangers associated with these systems. Um, we had a few fatalities last year with the system that came through, and as is usually the case, they're almost always associated with people driving across flooded roadways where a wash crosses a road. And it's really dangerous to do that, especially during these systems because the rainfall can just be really intense. So a lot of times what will happen is somebody will drive into a wash that looks crossable at the moment, and then their car will stall out because water gets sucked into the intake around the hood and right under the hood, and then your car gets stalled out in the middle of the wash. And what you don't realize is that the majority of the rainfall still has not arrived at your location yet. So the wash will then come up rapidly, multiple feet, and then you're in a very perilous situation where you're likely going to lose your life. So it's just a really good idea not to do that. If you come across a flooded roadway, turn around, don't drown. National Weather Service messaging that's been around for years. The majority of these flash flood fatalities happen in vehicles where the driver willfully goes into the wash. If you don't do that, you're probably going to be okay. So looking at the satellite imagery here, you can see there's already a lot of moisture that's moved in. There's already thunderstorms forming off the Mexico border here, right south of Nogales on the U.S. side. And that'll likely start seeing some flooding later today. And we'll probably have some more in the western periphery of the state over here. But there are flash flood watches from various National Weather Service offices that are posted all over. Almost all of Arizona right now is under a flash flood watch. And you can actually see there's already some warnings in place. Most of New Mexico is also under a flash flood watch for the next few days. And then southern Utah is extremely prone to flash flooding, so they're also under a flash flood watch for the next few days. So if you live in these areas, you really, over the next few days, want to be aware that if you're driving around, you might come across a flash flood. Just don't drive into it. It's very simple. You'll be fine. Don't drive into it. A lot of times these floods only last for a few hours, or there's another way that you can go to get around the flash flood. So, the main messaging is do not drive into flash floods, and you'll be okay. I want to look at the quantitative precipitation forecast for the next week or so. You can see that these colors indicate the probability of total rainfall for the next 7 days. And you can see there are areas on this map right south of the border in Mexico looking at 7 inches down here. It's a ridiculous amount of rainfall that might hit in the next week. You can see why the flash flood watches are posted across Arizona and New Mexico and southern Utah, because there's a probability in some of these areas that they'll see upwards of 4 or 5 inches of rain in some locations in the next few days. So just be aware that this is a pretty unique system. It's going to ramp up precipitation massively, and it's going to definitely lead to flash flooding over the next few days. There's another thing I wanted to address. There is an issue that is happening and kind of among weather enthusiasts that want to get popular on social media of a lot of hype around weather events that's really undue and unnecessary, acting like people's lives are in danger when they're not, things like that. This is just one example, this page here. Just be aware of people that are really out there in the business trying to scare you more than they are trying to get accurate information out. So here's a really good example. There was a forecast that this amateur put out for Gila Bend in Arizona yesterday, telling everybody they needed to evacuate because there was going to be heavy rain and hail, and people would die. So just be aware. A lot of this stuff is kind of geared toward fear. It's not geared toward accurate information or reality. We live in a nation that has pretty good flood controls in place. We have good infrastructure. So if you're in a city, and there's really heavy rain, usually the city has been designed to handle that. you're not just going to be in your house most times and get washed away in a flash flood. Of course, in very rare circumstances that can happen. But we live in a place where, the infrastructure is pretty well done. And the majority of the time, as long as you're not driving into flash floods, they're not going to harm you. So just be aware when you're trying to consume weather information from on the internet, that you go to reliable sources, or just stick with the National Weather Service offices. These are educated professionals that know exactly what they're doing. They have very clear messaging. It's not hyped up. It's not meant to scare you. So I just wanted to throw that out there and just mention that, when you're consuming information on the internet, it's really important to check the sources. And just if you feel like somebody's trying to make you afraid, that's just one of those base things about being human that kind of will get your attention, and it's meant to do that in order to get clicks and actually generate ad revenue. Is one of the main drivers, is just trying to make money off your fear. So yeah, this is a significant event that's coming through for the next few days, but I don't believe that you're in imminent danger or you're gonna die. There's many mitigating factors that keep you safe during these events, and usually it's people that put themselves in harm's way during these flood events. Here we're looking at some flash flood from last night, around 3 Points, Arizona. Flash flood footage. That this was a very significant flood just on the leading edge of the system moving in. So this is just evidence to show you that there's the potential for major flash flooding over the next few days, starting August 18th and going for a few days. Good luck. Adios.